Often people glamorize working for a nonprofit, working for an organization that's mission driven, caring coworkers, and an organization that's making a real difference in society. And this is all very true. Yet, there is an ugly truth working at a nonprofit, particularly fundraisers, that many people don't talk about. And it's called burnout. And it manifests itself in many ways. It can be physically, mentally, or spiritually. And personally, I felt burnt out before at a nonprofit. And my response wasn't the best. I would simply just leave the organization. At one organization, I was stressed and could never relax. I was really burnt out. I couldn't sleep. I couldn't really eat. It was horrible. However, my symptoms were quite mild when I compare myself to many of the other nonprofit fundraisers who were burnt out. A couple weeks ago, I was reading the nonprofit magazine Opportunity Knocks, and it reported 30% of the nonprofit workforce is burnt out, and another 20% are very close to being burnt out. That's insane. And in that same survey, the most respondents were nonprofit fundraisers. So this was mostly them reporting that they're burnt out or at the verge of being burnt out. Yet for individuals that don't work in the nonprofit industry, particularly fundraisers, it can often be glamorized fundraising. They often think we really wear nice clothes. We have fantastic meals with really interesting and very wealthy individuals. We only work when they see us. It's quite glamorized. But what's often overlooked is 90% of the work, kind of the tip of the iceberg of what it takes to put together those meals and how to meet those very interesting and wealthy individuals. The long hours, the nights and the weekends, because we're there when everyone else is not there, because that's the time to make those phone calls. These things are really overlooked. And this is not to mention all the no's that we get. If you're a fundraiser, you really have to be okay with rejection, because we get rejections probably, I don't know, 75% of the time, maybe 80. You know, the longer you're in the industry, you get a little bit better at it. But I mean, I get rejected all the time. I'm not sure how many people can handle that. We have to embrace failure like few other organizations. Being a fundraiser, we simply do. One of my favorite quotes by Confucius is, "Our greatest glory is not in never failing, but in rising every time we fail." And most nonprofit fundraising officers do this very well, but it wears on us over time, and also not to be appreciated by some of our coworkers and colleagues where we work. It can wear you out a little bit. You know, people think you're not working hard, like the money's just sort of falling out of the sky, and you just happen to be there catching it. This wears on you. You can sort of burn yourself out. And that's not to mention also the pressure of not hitting your goal. Um, Things go bad when you don't hit your goal. And it's not just about you and your job, but people get laid off if I don't hit my goal. Programs don't get delivered if I don't hit my goal. The community is lesser if I don't hit my goal. The pressure is immense, and it's not like we're just selling widgets or anything. We're trying to save lives and change the direction of society. If I don't hit my number, what is the organization going to do? The pressure fundraisers have, nonprofit fundraisers and development offers have, is so overlooked. It's incredible. I mean, sometimes I'm walking around campus and someone will ask me, "Well, what's wrong?" And I say, "Oh, nothing." I really respond. I'll say, "Oh, nothing." But I'm thinking about, how am I going to make sure that I hit my goal? I mean, the pressure is real, and sometimes we unfairly ourselves as well as others will compare us to other development officers at other institutions, and those are different markets. When I was working at a very large institution, the amount of money that I was able to raise or be a part of raising was enormous. It would set my current nonprofit where I work at up. Our annual goal would set our current nonprofit up for 10 years. I mean, a major gift was $20,000. Now, at where I am now, a major gift is $5,000. So when someone brings in a gift, well over what I've ever brought in, sometimes, I'll say, wow, gosh, I wish I could do that. But, I'm in a different market, and most often, the dollars you raise is based on your budget. No one is going to give you $100 million gift, if it's not an endowment for a $6 million organization. It makes no sense. Why would they do that? So when someone's working at a college, university, or a hospital, and they bring in a $20 million gift, that's commiserate to their budget and what they're trying to do there, versus a $5 million. You're just not going to bring that in. And so it's just not fair to compare yourself to other individuals that are in different markets. You have to compare yourself to yourself and what you're capable of doing. But often we make that mistake, and we do that, and others do it as well towards us. Another challenge is we often deal with other individuals within our organization, as well as volunteers that really don't understand fundraising. And so they will sort of give you suggestions, different ideas that that do not work. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've raised over $50 million. And, I picked up a few things along the way. And when someone comes to me and tells me, if you need to raise $1 million, just go out and ask 1,000 people to give you $10,000, and you'll be there. That's generally not the way money comes in, and so you can't set something up that way. And so you'll get that all the time, where someone will say, "Hey, why don't you create a calendar or sell a calendar, or why don't you put together a cookbook?" And these things have nothing to do with the mission of the organization, and you're basically selling something. So you run into that, or you have someone within your organization that can be above you, and they will go off and do some sort of fundraising for something that has nothing to do with the general operating of the organization. And it can pull funds away from what it is you're trying to do, and the direction that the organization is actually trying to go, because they have a pet project. So these are real challenges that nonprofit fundraisers and development officers run into that can lead to burnout. And if we don't figure out how to maneuver around burnout, we can run into some real challenges. I was reading just this morning in the Mayo Clinic did a report on the signs of burnout, and it's bad. It's insomnia, sadness, alcoholism, and drug abuse, anger. Just the list just goes on and on. It's just not a good place to be. Depression, heart disease, diabetes. I mean, the list just goes on and on. It's not a good place to be. And to avoid the ugly truth of burnout, as a nonprofit fundraiser, there are many things that we can do to help mitigate or minimize the effect of potential burnout. And one of them is planning. Put the time in doing your financial fundraising plan. When I first started planning, I would, my plan was about 4 or 5 pages. Now, my plan is quite detailed. It's about 65 pages, and it lays out everything, and it involves everyone that's connected to our department. Whether it's the president, we assign a certain amount to him. Whether it's the board of directors, we assign a certain amount to them. And so we kind of spread out the level of stress. But yeah, planning is a big deal to help mitigate burnout. And continuing in the planning and moving to the next stage is another way is just starting to stop planning at some point and start implementing. I'm a planner. I can I can plan all day if I don't catch myself. So at some point you have to pull the trigger, and you got to get out there and you have to start making those phone calls. You have to start scheduling those lunches and those meetings, and contacting foundations and corporations, and just getting out there and then measuring what you're doing. Is it working? Do we have to make a shift? Do we need to put a little bit more money over here in the gala? What's happening? But we start implementing, because if you're sitting back and planning, you're leaving yourself less time to actually get out there and start raising the money. And the less time you have, the more stress starts coming in. So plan, engage, and then implement. Get out there and then start measuring. Measure what's happening. Don't just keep doing what you're doing and then all of a sudden look up. You got 5 or 6 months left and you're not near your goal. So make sure that you're doing those measurements as well. And then finally, after you've started and you've implemented and you started measuring, make some adjustments. If, as I alluded to before, if things are not going in the direction that you want to, adjust, shift, go in one direction. Or on the positive note, things start really blowing up in one direction, start leaning in there. If donors are more interested in this program, and there's a budget for more funds to be raised, lean into that program and push it further. So, but the point is, make those adjustments when you need to. Don't wait until there's a few months left and you look up and you realize that you need to do something different. And we personally, we meet every week, but I mean, we really start looking at the numbers twice a month. On the 1st and the 15th of each month, I'm looking at our numbers and I'm looking at where the numbers are coming in and what we need to do and what adjustments we need to make. So make sure you're doing all that as well. And one of my absolute favorite things to help mitigate burnout is networking. Networking is key, because I don't know what I would do without my network. I have a cohort of about 36 other development officers across the nation. And some of them are monsters. I mean, they raise money they put the work in, but they raise money. And I can call them up and I can say, hey, I'm doing this and I need some help. I know you blew this up last year. What? They send me everything. They'll say, we'll be on the phone, chop it up a little bit. They'll send me it in Word. I could just take our organization's name off and put theirs on. So my point is develop your network. And we can vent. I can call them up and say, hey, I'm dealing with this, and this individual is driving me crazy, and blah blah blah. And they call me. I got a text this morning. One of my homegirls texted me, and she was she had an issue, and I quickly responded. I said, this is how you do it. She texted me. I said, this is what you do. This is how I see it, and this is what I would do. So my point is, to help mitigate burnout is your network. Grow a network that shares, cares about each other, respects each other, and uplifts each other. So the network is key. Another way to help mitigate stress is celebrate successes. Last year, we had a very, very good year, and we celebrated. And we knew we were having a good year throughout the year. And let me tell you, we were celebrating along the year as we were having the year, going through the year. So make sure you celebrate, because there's going to be some rough times, and you want to be able to look back and say, we did well here, so we can do it. We can do it. And the celebrations are what you mostly will remember. So make sure you celebrate your successes, but also celebrate your failures as well, because if you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. I remember we had an exercise, I probably should reinstitute it, but we had an exercise where we would go around, when we'd have our weekly meetings, we would go around and we would talk about, what's happening, but we would also talk about our failures of the week. And I remember one individual, it came to her And she said, "Oh, well, I didn't have any failures. I don't." And I said, well, I said, "Well, you're not trying hard enough. You need to be trying so hard that you're failing." And so make and celebrate them. And when we do have failures, we talk them through, and we'll say, "Good job." And the point is we when we talk about this, is so we can avoid it next time, and we can learn from it next time. So celebrate your failures as well. So another way to help, I'm kind of laughing because this one is, I'm kind of known for this a little bit, but that is to grow your department. And I mean by adding staff when it makes sense. And I'm very equipped in doing that. I try to make sure that when the time is right, I add staff. And so when I remember when I first started, it was myself and another young lady, and it was just two of us. Now we're four now, and we're in the midst of hiring a fifth individual. So grow your staff, and we work just as hard as we did when it was just two of us, but we're able to spread it out a little more. Sometimes someone in the office may not be that busy, and so they can help me do something, or vice versa. I may not be that busy, I can help someone else. It just the bigger your team is, the more support you have, and how you can spread things out, and you can raise more money. And so and it alleviates a little bit of the stress, because you guys can all roll your sleeves up if something needs to get done, versus just me and another individual. It's just a little bit harder. So one way to help avoid burnout is to grow your staff. And don't just grow your staff. Make sure you support your staff. Fight for your staff. I fight for my staff. I try to make sure that they are paid market rate or a little bit above, depending on what it is that they're doing. I also offer, through the support of my president and the board, I also try to offer PDs for them, a personal development whenever they want. It could be a grant writing class, it could be a fundraising class, it could be, whatever. It can be even a writing class, just to learn to write better, or a speech class. I really want to make sure I offer that sort of support. Also, there's a thing, this is not particular to just my department, but we have a saying in our office, and that saying is family first. Family first. And so when someone needs to stay home, or they need to, pick someone up, or someone in the family is ill, you go take care of that. I mean, family first, because, and I feel like your staff can't be at their best if they're worried about somebody at home being feeling sick, or if they're feeling sick, or if they want to make sure their daughter is okay, or they need to go watch a soccer game, or you just family first. And then after that, the mission and everything. And that's how we run our office, and that's how the support is. And so it alleviates burnout, because they know if something is up, they can say, "Hey, I need to do this, go do it." That's how. And if somebody needs to work from home, work from home. So support your staff when you grow your staff. Another technique I use is I want to make sure that I stay grounded. Stay grounded. And what I mean by that is, remember the mission of the organization you're working at the nonprofit. And one of the things I ask my staff to do is, I ask them to go sit and watch a program officer for at least once a week or once a month, where they sit down and they see, why are we there? Sometimes we get so buried into how many phone calls we're making, how many visits we're making, how much money we're raising, and we forget why we're doing what we're doing. And that actually helps when we get those failures. When someone says no to you on the phone, or whatever, something that's not we're not robots. This hurts us. It hurts. But when you go out and you see your constituents of why you're doing what you're doing, being successful, going off and doing things and changing the world, it gives you energy to go get back on that phone because you know you're making a difference. So make sure you stay grounded. Remember the mission of the organization, and usually going and sitting and seeing one of the officers deliver what it is they're doing really does that for me. And another thing is, when I said celebrate, celebrate, please. Yeah, do celebrate, but don't get too high. Don't celebrate, because if you get too high, that's a long way to fall down when you have a failure. So, celebrate, get to a nice level, but stay there. So when you hit when you fail, you don't get too low either. You sort of are in a balance. Don't get too high, don't get too low. So stay grounded. And it reminds me of one of my favorite poems, If, one of the verses in If by Rudyard Kipling, where he says, if you can dream, but not make dreams your master, if you can think, but not make thoughts your aim, and if you can meet with triumph and disaster and treat those two imposters just the same. I mean, think about that. So basically, stay grounded. Another thing that will help with keeping you away from burnout, particular for fundraisers, and nonprofits in general, but fundraisers, I'm talking to fundraisers, I'm talking to you, is self-care. We have to engage in self-care. We can't just be, having a cup of coffee and, grabbing a quick bite, here and there, running in between meetings and not sleeping well, staying up late. No, you can't. I mean, personally, I'm a vegan. Uh, yeah, I stopped eating meat and dairy and all those other things, 4 or 5 years ago. I work out religiously. I get up at 5:45. I'm out the door. I walk about 6 miles. Every morning. Or every other morning. I have a Bowflex bike that I work out on the days that I'm not out walking or that it's too cold. I have a rack of dumbbells over here. I meditate. I stretch. I'm not perfect. I miss days, and I could do better, but I focus on it and I try to do it. And you have to do that. If you're not doing the self-care, Calm is a fantastic app. One of my colleagues, my coworkers, introduced Calm to me. I listen to Calm, have my favorite sounds on there, and you just have to have self-care. You have to take vacations. I just got back from a vacation just last week. I went to the Dominican Republic, had a blast. But I gotta tell you, I love what I do so much. 8 days was a little too much. By around the sixth day, I'm thinking about coming back to work and what it is I miss about work, and just rolling up my sleeves and getting back into it. So, but anyway, to the point, make sure you're engaging in self-care. My wife and I. Three things that we do, all out. We vacations. I just mentioned one of them. Fine dining. We go and we find the finest vegan restaurants that we can find every once in a while. And we go to concerts, front row center. We don't mess around. And we really just, really try to enjoy life. Just this morning, I'm on my way out the door to go to work. And I said, honey, why don't we go to such and such and do something on Friday? She stuck her head out the door. Would love to. She goes, will you do the reservation? Yep, I'll take care of the reservations. So make sure self-care, family, friends, have a good time, have that balance. But when you're at work, get all into it. Be bent over the desk, running out, chasing donors, getting that money. But make sure there's a balance. Self-care is key. And get your physicals. I'm worse than probably anybody else in terms of being on top of it. I go every 6 months. I see my doctor every six. I think a year's too long, so I go every 6 months. Self care is key. Now, there's nothing like having a success to sort of help with burnout, because burnout is just one of those clouds that just can follow you around, and it can be self perpetuating. But success can also help you sort of take a breath a little bit. An example is normally uh, my team, we raise around $3 million last year. This particular team in LA, we did $8 million or $7 million. I'm sorry, we did $7 million, and that's phenomenal. Yeah, and we did it during the COVID. We did it during civil unrest, and we did it during an economic downturn. And we, as I said, we celebrated those successes. But it also, looking at it, it allowed us to work a little bit harder, because we were like, oh wow, look at this is happening, and it just felt really good. But we took our timeouts. We relaxed a little bit. We were working from home, and someone would call in and say, you know what, I need a day or two, because go take a day or two. But successes allow you to do that. So one way to help with it, with burnout, is being successful, but not to the point to where you're just on that hamster wheel and not taking a break even from your successes. I look at successes as um, an opportunity to do more, but also an opportunity to take it easy a little bit and look at the fundamentals and the foundations of being able to build some things up. For example, we were very successful, so it allowed us to also focus on putting together policies and procedures that are being written up and everything. If we were not hitting our numbers, we wouldn't have time for that. So it also allows you to sort of look around and make sure the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed. And the last piece of advice that I would give you is find a fundraising job that you enjoy and or love, that you would love, because it just makes your job so much easier. I mean, imagine being over in the Dominican Republic and having, smoking cigars, having some really tasty rum, um, but on the sixth day, dreaming about going back to work, wanting to get back to work. That's a blessing for me. I mean, I love what I do, and I've been there for about 12 years, and I haven't been burnt out since. I mean, I don't really need a vacation. It's really a trip, because I just love what I do. And I'm not saying that that's going to be that way for everybody. However, my associate is it's that way with her as well. But I have to say, it really allows me to avoid burnout, because I just love what I do. Sometimes, there's some politics or, things that I run into, but what I do, who I do it for, how I do it, how successful I am, I'm one of the luckiest men in the world to do what I do. And so, if you can find that, if you can find an organization where you raise money for and you can get behind, it's magic. It was funny. I was looking at I'm always looking at my retirement, seeing what I'm going to do. I'm going to try to retire at 70, not because I need to, but I'm hoping that I'll still have enough marbles to still be there. So find where you love, not enjoy, love, and you will probably avoid burnout. Now, I hope this video helped you if you're going through burnout, or if you're on the verge of burnout, or you just want to avoid it. I hope it really helped you. And if this is your first time seeing me on the video, my name is Paul Hosh, and I've been fundraising for about 25 years. Um, and my goal is to make this world a better place, um, one nonprofit at a time. And what that means, one fundraiser at a time. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you click the like button, make sure you subscribe and hit the bell, because my goal is to reach every fundraiser that this can help. So if you know somebody that this video might be able to help, please share this with them so we can spread love, success, and ways of being happy in what we do. Because I really feel like fundraisers are often overlooked at what they do and how they support this most important third sector of society. So when you see another fundraiser, make sure you give them a hug and shoot him this video. And look back for me next week. I'll be here next Wednesday. I'll be posting it up around noon. Sorry that this one's a little late, but as I said, I just got back from the Dominican Republic and I was just trying to get this video out into you in time. And thanks for watching. And before you leave, make sure you leave maybe a few comments on what has helped you with burnout or how you've been able to avoid burnout. And let's have a discussion. Let's talk about how we can help each other do what we do. So this is Paul Hosh signing off. I'll see you next week around noon, Wednesday around noon. Take care.